How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days, starring Matthew McConaughey and Kate Hudson, is on Netflix's top 10 21 years after it made its debut in theaters in 2003. Directed by Donald Petrie, the movie follows advice columnist Andy Hudson, as she works on a piece about getting a man to leave in 10 days' time. The man in question is executive Ben Barry, McConaughey, who has just bet his coworker that he can get any woman to fall in love with him in 10 days. Despite their opposite goals, the two can't help but get attached. How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days grossed $177 million worldwide on a $50 million budget, making it a success at the time of its release. Now, it is enjoying a resurgence in popularity thanks to its availability on Netflix, as it now ranks as number 9 most watched movie for the week of August 26 through September 1. How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days racked up 5.2 million hours viewed and 2.7 views total, coming in just ahead of the Super Mario Bros. Movie at number 10. The top movie of the week was the Netflix original Incoming. What How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days being in Netflix's top 10 means. Gen Z enjoys the romantic fantasy it provides. Andy, Kate Hudson, and Ben, Matthew McConaughey, at the Knicks game in How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. While there are plenty of millennials rewatching How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days on Netflix, it seems the early 2000s rom-com has found a whole new audience in Gen Z. In the past year, more and more Gen Z movie watchers have taken to TikTok to comment on rom-coms that were staples in millennial culture. In doing so, they boost their popularity significantly, even years after their original release. Viewing a film that showcases a main character with a job that pays for a nicely decorated apartment in a big city with a big group of friends and a handsome love interest is like stepping into another world for Gen Z. In an early 2000s rom-com, the main character can have it all. Not only are movies like How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days a comforting rewatch, they're also a special kind of fantasy to get lost in. Our take on How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days landing on Netflix's global chart 21 years later. How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days exemplifies the best of the genre. How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days has all the ingredients necessary for a successful and timeless rom-com. The humor is silly and heightens as the film reaches its climax. Watching McConaughey try to keep a straight face as Hudson presents him with a love fern is one of those classic rom-com moments that keeps audiences giddily revisiting the scene for years to come. We're not surprised in the least bit to see the McConaughey movie in Netflix's top 10. How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days is a funny and charming movie that performed well when it premiered and is a favorite for people to return to over and over again. If a sequel ever gets made, we bet audiences will delight in it for 21 more years.